Do you know that by 2030, it's expected that a growing number of women will be single? In a recent piece, it was predicted that by 2030, 45% of American women would be unmarried. It will definitely happen, gentlemen. The state of older women. There will be many ladies in the future who will be alone. It may not be 45 anymore. Now, that doesn't necessarily imply that they won't be piped the hell down. No, they will be engaging in polyculture to a large extent in addition to accomplishing that. That is definitely present already, so as time goes on, I anticipate it becoming more common. However, that is gradually disintegrating and disappearing in terms of women getting married and monogamous relationships. As a result, expect to see more older women who are single living alone and with pets in the future than ever before. Many of these women are currently divorcing their marriages between the ages of 50 and 60 and anticipate coming out here to find a new man. If they believe they'll come back on the market at 60, bypass the line with all these young and middle-aged ladies and find a new husband, they're in for an unpleasant surprise. The definition of a deluded woman is an older lady who believes she will divorce her spouse and find a new man to devote himself to her and take care of her. Most guys won't marry off an elderly woman who already has one foot in the grave. Tell me if most of the older ladies in your family and the people around you who are older than you are still married or have had stable relationships. Majority of them didn't. Just be aware that many of you will live to witness your bitter ex-wife, vengeful ex-wife, or the lady who did you wrong face the results of her actions. Survival in the DNA. Single young men who are unable to find any women in their generation or age group will prevent the demise of older single women. As I've already stated though, women will always find a way to survive, and the young guys who were the incel virgins will save them. By nature, women know how to survive. They'll always discover a way to survive by adjusting to their environment and situation. This began when the first cave woman realized she needed a partner because she could not survive on her own. She adjusted to her situation and discovered that survival was simpler by relying on a caveman to protect her and give her his finds from his hunting expeditions, in exchange for the only thing she had of value. The other cave women, being natural followers, resolved to use the first woman's resources to persuade a man to guard and provide for them, just as she had done. As they say, the rest is history. The same thing is happening today, where older single women will find a way to subsist on the backs of men's labor and hard work. The history of female survival. Women are skilled at surviving, you see. This has been demonstrated throughout the history of humanity, where they have survived without having to participate in most conflicts or carry out the majority of the laborious tasks required to create this society. Nevertheless, women survived all the BS that men had to give their lives for and eventually outnumbered men in the world. Women cannot exist for long without men, as you have probably realized, and if we weren't here to defend them, they would have long since vanished. However, the reality still stands that they will use men as a method of survival, taking advantage of our vulnerabilities as their greatest strength. Women will always be able to exist off of men's sacrifices, resources, and protection until men get over their urge to bust and spread their seed. Men can only do it in order to prevent women from utilizing them to survive. Most males would have to quit protecting women in the future, acquire control of their salami, put their wallets away, and allow the government to handle their affairs. That paragraph alone explains why they've been able to live and adapt to the point where they outnumber humans, and is the reason why the slogan "Women and Children First" exists. Am I implying that's unacceptable? Not at all. However, times have changed, and we now live in a society where equality is the new normal. Men don't need to defend women any longer since they have the government to take care of them, and we also don't need to supply long-term resources since they can go out and bring home their own food. I always advise renting rather than buying, so that you can obtain what you want without any haggling. All of this is being said to let you know that women will adjust to the situation, especially in light of the economy's collapse and men's decision to go their own way. You don't understand women if you believe that they will simply die alone without any help. Just keep in mind that the monkey simps, hope strategists, and lonely single men who desire a partner outnumber us. We would need a lot more men to become RP and then choose to either go monk mode their own way or the free agent lifestyle. But that will never occur, to be perfectly honest, in this life at least. Therefore, do not hold your breath. We are held hostage by women. So believe me when I say that there will never be any change for the better for men. For instance, if a war broke out, we would have to take the shots and stabbings for them before they were ever required to grasp a gun and defend themselves. Therefore, I argued that women will always outlive men. Now, even if some women will live alone, are you certain this will be the case until their passing? I want you to give this some serious thought. They will, in fact, be single. Although it seems most likely, how confident are you that they won't experience loneliness in the future? Because, if you stop to think about it, a sizable and expanding segment of men and young men are single and lonely because their counterparts aren't interested in them. Accordingly, and on the basis of the research that is currently available, I'm giving the bad news that many of these older single women will not die alone. They will instead find a way to adapt and survive by using what's between their legs. Instead, they will adapt and prey on lonely young guys and unmarried men who are unable to attract women in their age group. So, they don't die by themselves. You guys have to realize that a man will always be willing to ignore warning signs in order to establish intimacy. This shows how intense the want for companionship or relief is for males, and tragically, far too many of them are prepared to settle for anything less than pure release. Therefore, even if we want women to learn their lesson, the sad truth is that too many men are willing to give up everything they have fought so hard for in order for those men's need for intimacy. I will reiterate this though. I'm sorry to break it to you, but if you think that most men will wake up and decide to end relationships despite knowing the RP, you are mistaken. Partners are inevitable. Even the guys who quit their relationships will ultimately come back into one, especially if they can't understand this RP message anymore. Hold the line and hold the fort. For the few of you who are determined to remain unmarried and pass away alone, just know that you will have to give up your independence, serenity, and quiet as soon as you decide to return to the plantation. If you're okay with that, carry out your duties. We have young men with plenty of free time, energy, and future earning potential. For mature females, that is great real estate. Instead of an older man who wouldn't have the energy to accomplish it, these women would have someone who could look after them and their health for longer. They'll receive a young man who is full of energy to be intimate with and who can support them for decades without dipping into a retirement account. What more could these ladies possibly want? In the future, older women will target younger men, and I believe that many of these young guys will save these elderly single ladies from dying alone. Unfortunately, elderly women won't pass away alone. I realize that's something we don't like to think about. If these young men are desperate enough, and based on the percentage of males who are still virgins, the number of men in cells who want to be with women, and the other men who sincerely desire a relationship, I believe the pendulum will swing in their favor, flooding polyamorous partnerships with wealthy, older, and successful men, while average men who can't get women to be intimate with for the life of them turn to younger women to balance things out. On the one hand, this means that many older women who still believe they deserve the best man on these streets will pass away alone, no questions asked. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Support us and help us spread support for men around the world. Do comment and share your thoughts. We're always up for a healthy debate and discussion.